Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Raiti from Raiti's Rides. I'm deep within this secret location with GMC in Motor City, Detroit, Michigan, because guess what? They're bringing some big changes and showing that, guess what? Big things can come in small packages. What are we talking about? We're talking about the all-new 2025 GMC Terrain. But before we get into the entryway into the GMC family of SUVs and trucks, let's talk about what's going on here. The Terrain, believe it or not, it's been around since 2007. So it's been quite a minute that its introduction has taken place. And what you're finding is a lot of the changes that we have shown you in vehicles like the GMC Acadia are now coming to the Terrain. One thing right off the bat that GMC has decided to do, which I think is super smart, is kind of just make it real plain and simple when it comes to trim. So what you're gonna find is your entryway into the Terrain is elevation, which is what we have right behind us. Then of course there's AT4, and then the top trim will still be the Denali. Now one thing to know, that when we say entry trim, or we use that one word that sometimes I hate using, which is base trim, one thing with this Terrain, actually 15 different things with this Terrain, is all of the standard features, safety features and other standard features that it comes with that is gonna make that experience getting into an elevation totally different. And then of course, as you go up to an AT4 or Denali, will even bring you more of what you come to expect when you hear those model names from GMC. So what I wanna find out is, in this really hotly contested, smaller size crossover SUV segment, has GMC made the right changes to make the Terrain the one to choose? Let's go ahead, let's dive into our elevation and find out. Right off the bat, what you're gonna see is a new distinct style, and I'm really liking the direction that GMC is going in. When you look at vehicles like the Acadia, of course you look at their truck lineup, the Sierra and the Canyon, you're gonna see a lot of that GMC DNA in the style. All starts at the headlight housing. New signature headlight housing with the lighting, of course, full LED headlights, daytime running lamps, and turn signals. You'll see that C-shape look. That is something that when you see a GMC vehicle coming down the road, you're gonna find that familiar lighting effect. And I like the way that they brought it and integrated it into this smaller Terrain. Now, working your way down, you have functional, not fake, functional corner air curtains to help channel that airflow. I like that this particular one is all blacked out, or like some people like to say, murdered out, because with the black exterior color, it's also kind of blending in all the trim nicely to really give it a really sharp, cohesive design. But the fact that we have the functionality to those corner air curtains is really smart. And just a small touch of gloss black. It's not like they just pasted gloss black all over the front of the new Terrain. Now, as we come across that GMC signature grille with that logo, so much history going back to General Motors Truck Company, when the introduction and how they've been able to adapt to what the market is asking for, not only trucks, but also SUVs. You'll see that bright red badging. Love the way it pops off of our all blacked out grille. You do have a forward facing camera. Remember, elevation trim, like I said, more standard features. And what you're gonna find in the elevation, and then of course, as you move your way up, when you look at the actual front tires down below, you'll notice that they widen the track. Not only does that give that a little bit more of a muscular look coming at you from the front, but it's also gonna help on how the Terrain rides, drives, and handles. So that's something that not only from an aesthetic standpoint, getting those front wheels and tires pushed out, not only does it help with looks, but it also helps with the drivability of the vehicle. Now, working our way down, you do have some flat black, which I always think is smart on the lower bumper area. This is gonna take a better beating because it's closer to the road. And then you'll see there's active shutters behind there that are gonna open and close to allow more or less air to pass through, depending on what the engine is needing at the time. Now, as we rise up, to kind of tie it all in together, you got this big, bold hood. And I think that's one of the things that automatically got my attention, is how high the hood is in a very good way. We're moving away, I think, as an industry of SUVs looking like jelly beans, where everything's kind of rounded. Now we're getting that nice, bold, distinct style, especially from a brand like GMC, because like I said, they do a great job separating themselves from their corporate siblings. But underneath the hood, you're still gonna have that 1.5 liter turbocharged engine, putting out 175 horsepower, 203 pound-feet of torque, and made it to a 9-speed automatic transmission. Now, at its initial launch, all of the Terrains will be available all-wheel drive, but there will eventually be a front-wheel drive version available down the road. So just something that I wanted to point out. But let me know what you're thinking so far about the front end of the Terrain. I really think, like I said, it just captures your attention and you're like, ooh, what is that? There's definitely something different about it. Now, as we come around the bend, wheels and tires are always important. You could kill the look. If you put a bad set of wheels on a car, you could kill the whole look, all with that one choice. What you're gonna find is that they chose correctly. You're gonna have this optional 19-inch wheel. So standard wheel is 17-inch. This is an optional 19-inch wheel. Love that split spoke design. Even the way they did some etching into the wheel, and nothing is polished. I think the blacked out wheel with our particular blacked out paint job really sets it up right. Of course, they went through and did special tuning to the suspension, to the chassis, to give you a more composed driving experience. That's one of those things that, like I said, widening the track of the vehicle, making those changes is gonna give you a Terrain that's gonna drive differently from the previous model generations. Love the way you have the flat black fender flare treatment to the opening here. Just enough, it doesn't rise too high into the actual fender, so it really gives a nice sort of balance between the flat black and the body color. And if you're wondering what size tires are we running, 235 on the width and a nice 55 series sidewall. But let me know what you think about this wheel. Like I said, really nicely done. And of course, we're gonna show you the Denali trim. That brings you up to a 20-inch wheel if you want to go that route. Now, coming down the side, you are going to have your color match mirror caps. We got our 8 camera views, 360-degree camera, and then for the first time ever, seriously, the first time ever, we have a 2-tone paint job from GMC. And I'm so glad they went with this nice metallic silver. Looks fantastic with the rest of our blacked out experience on this particular Terrain. Even the way they did the badging, nice gloss black, nothing too high, nothing too low, and it's got a nice metallic flake to it. It's gonna be good to see this out in the sun. But coming down the side of the vehicle, you are gonna have your raised roof rails, and very important, I think it's important when they are raised because it gives you easier accessibility for when you have that kayak carrier, canoe carrier, mountain bike carrier, or a cargo carrier up top, to really make this a multi-purpose, multi-function vehicle to help you go wherever your journey is going to take you. But coming down the side, like I said, all of the signature design styles that you see from GMC really translate well into this new 2025 Terrain. And then swinging it around back, love the way that painted roof design comes all the way back to the roof spoiler. You'll notice the way that they did the LED taillights, just like the headlights up front, that nice C-shaped style to it, the way it comes into the lift gate area. You got your GMC badge, and then of course, working our way down to ground level, love the way they finish it off with our Terrain all-wheel drive badge, and then the elevation badge on the right-hand side, and then super clean underneath with the flat black, just like we found on the front bumper area. But why don't we go ahead, let's get inside this new Terrain, because there's gonna be some things that are gonna blow your brain out. All right, guys, we're inside this 2025 all-new GMC Terrain. I know you're saying to yourself, well, Joe, I need a compact crossover SUV. I'm looking at what's available. I've always been a GMC type of person. My grandfather had a GMC truck. My dad has had GMC Yukons. I really want a GMC vehicle, and I'm liking this Terrain. How much is it? No pricing available yet, but expect it to be very competitive, especially with the amount of standard features. When you go elevation, you're looking at things as standard heated steering wheel, heated seats, that adaptive cruise control. These are all things that have now been added standard to the elevation trim. And that's why I say that word base trim, it's not so base inside this Terrain elevation. But let's see, what are the updates to the interior? To the door panels. Love the nice, clean style. So you're gonna have soft touch material up top, and then I'm really digging that sort of like smoky silver trim right underneath that. It's nice to see some different elements rather than just gloss black. And GMC is really doing a good job with that. You have that sort of like aluminum style finish, and then you'll notice the contrast stitching throughout that whole center armrest area. No gloss black around the switchgear, so you don't have to worry about those stupid fingerprints all over the place. And then down below, door pocket is big enough for 4 Coney dogs and a large Coca-Cola to wash it down. Going from the door panel to the dash, the designers really wanted to focus on horizontal lines, and that gives you the perception of everything being wider. And I like that, especially how they brought more of the stitching, the soft touch material. Underneath, you got a great pass-through area for a purse, a bag, a sack, a satchel, a fanny pack, or a 5-pound bag of Detroit apples. Infotainment system, all new. That beautiful portrait style 15-inch infotainment system, full touchscreen capability. Love the way you have all the different camera views that you could get to. And GM has always done the best resolution. So clear that you could actually read license plate numbers right off of cars that are like 100 yards away from you. Very intuitive. And I like the way that they kind of placed it in that area where it's easily accessible. Now the good news is not everything is within the screen. As you work your way down, you have an actual volume knob, which is important. You are going to have, like I said, those standard heated seats, and we have in this particular one ventilated seats as well. And then you're going to have toggle switches for the AC controls. So I definitely applaud GMC for keeping the switch gear for the AC controls nice dual climate. Down below you have a USB-A, USB-C, and a little nice cubby area. Here is your key fob with the GMC badge. Spin it around, there you go. And you could easily put 4 Twinkies there. Line them right up, easy access. 2 cup holders, you got wireless charging. And then look at the material, the stitching. Open this up, I was actually kind of blown away. You take this little tray out, you actually have enough room in there easily for 7 Beanie Babies, especially Peanut. Peanut is worth 1,500 bucks. 1,500 bucks. The seats, the material, the stitching, all the fine detail. Down below you do have electric assist for the passenger, electric assist for the driver, panoramic sunroof, and a digital rear view mirror. But why don't you come over here at the business end? I want to show you behind the wheel of this new Terrain. Right, guys, business time behind the wheel. You do have 2 memory seat settings, so if you're lucky enough to have a friend, you can let them borrow your Terrain and have their own unique, specific memory seat option and not interfere with yours. Down below, you got those easily accessible switchgear for the power seats. I'm 6 feet tall, and I love the way they arranged the space in here. It really is smartly done, especially I think one of the biggest pluses is by taking the center console area and lowering a little bit where the cup holders are. That really just kind of opens up everything and gives it a little bit more airier feel in here. Steering wheel, leather all the way around. Of course, the GMC badge staring at you with that grille surround. Always like the way they did that. There's the heated steering wheel button. You do have paddles to go up and down the 9-speed automatic. You also have your mode selector switch easily accessible where you turn on your all-wheel drive. And then you do have, of course, a manual tilting and telescoping wheel. And then the new kid in town is that 11-inch digital display. Love the graphics, the fonts, the information that could be displayed. You could bring up your Google Maps. And of course, this has the whole suite of Google Assistant, which is really great. and there's that adaptive cruise control. But really, really nice, the colors, the graphics, and the fonts. Plus, they even did stitching on the top portion of the hood area for the gauge cluster. Nicely done. But why don't we go ahead, let's get in that backseat area and see if your passengers are going to enjoy that you bought a Terrain. All right, guys, backseat time. And another area that, even though this is considered a compact crossover SUV, really has some nice space in here. Even with the panoramic roof, I have lots of headroom. Love the pockets on the back. This is where you'll easily be able to put a family-sized bag, 1 pound bag of Skittles. Nice soft touch. We do have our standard heated seats, AC in the back, and the 2 USB-Cs down below. And look at how low the floor is. That to me is very impressive with the amount of leg room and passenger room that you have. Pull this down, nice Charmin soft armrest, 2 cup holders, all that great stitching. Let's get into the cargo area because we need to wrap it up from Detroit. All right, guys, time to get in the cargo area. Now, of course, the Terrain has that new auto sensing technology when it comes to the lift gate, where if you have the key fob in your pocket, it will open up without you having to swing your legs all around the back of the vehicle. But we're gonna do it the old-fashioned way, hit the button, nice electric assist. And what's great about this vehicle, even though it's smaller in size, say, compared to an Acadia or a Yukon, you're gonna get a ton of cargo space back here. Of course, the rear seats fold down, that 60-40 split. I love the way they have these nooks for gallons of Yoo-hoo. Gotta have a gallon of Yoo-hoo on a family trip. And then underneath here, even more freaking storage. That to me is mind-blowing. Now, I know you wanna go for a drive. This isn't the first drive, this is the first look, but before we wrap it up and they throw us out of here, I wanna take you and over to some other vehicles. So why don't you follow me, and we're just gonna do this all in one fell swoop. So Lori, come on over to this side. So elevation, like I said, 3 trims, elevation, AT4, and Denali. So we just started with the elevation. Now we're jumping up to the Denali, and I just want to show you on the exterior what are some of those touches that the Denali brings compared to the other trims. So you're still going to get that new signature LED lighting. That goes without saying. But here we could see how that trim is brought into the all-new front fascia. Because remember, we have a new front fascia, new grille, the whole headlights. Everything has been reshaped. So you have some aluminum style trim on the Denali. There's that gloss black just a little bit. And then that traditional setup on a Denali trim is you're going to get the brighter metal work on the outside. Now, I'm glad that they went more with like a aluminum style rather than just straight up chrome. I think the industry is sort of moving away from that. So it really gives it a nice, modern, classy look, especially on this top portion where the hood meets the grille. Down below, same exact story. Very, very well done. And you'll notice in the corners, the LED fog lamps. They tuck those little guys in there, so you are getting LED fog lamps as well. But let's go around the bend and see what type of wheel and tire we have on a Denali trim. So, like I said, base trim, 17-inch is your standard wheel elevation. Then you could get an optional 19-inch. What you're finding on this Denali is a 19-inch as well. That V-spoke design, that aluminum style to it, I think it ties in nicely with what the grille is featuring. And then look at how we have the painted GMC unique shape, GMC fender openings, nice fender flare with your LED exterior lighting. Coming down the side, you have the bright, shiny metalwork around the window openings, the Denali badge, of course, and then along the bottom, everything is painted nicely. Working towards the rear, look at the way the trim comes to a knife point like a butter knife, nicely into that rear quarter window. And then at the back, it's the same story. They took the elements of that aluminum style trim into the rear of the vehicle with the LED lighting. Terrain all-wheel drive. Like I said, all Terrains will be available all-wheel drive at the initial launch. Your GMC badge, and really, really liking the way they did that lower bumper area. But that isn't the full story. There's one more to show, and that's going to be this AT4. So coming over to the AT4, what you're going to find is this is going to be your more off-road spec Terrain. And it's important because what we're finding with these crossover SUVs is a lot of brands are offering off-road style specs. Now, not all of them do it like GMC does it, because remember, some of them they call it an off-road trim, but all it is like gloss black wheels and running boards, and that's their off-road trim. This, though, brings the credentials. But before I talk about the credentials, let's talk about the style. You can see how they're taken. I love the way they've reshaped the front of the vehicle. Really gives it a nice, bold look and very distinctive compared to the larger Acadia, because the Acadia, remember, is a mid-size 3-row SUV. But you still have all that great signature lighting, the functional corner air curtains, the LED fog lamps down below, and then I really like the grille on the AT4 because it's a nice balance of the gloss black, but then you have this dark aluminum style finish with the GMC badging, of course, all the cameras, which are even more important if you're doing any kind of off-roading. That AT4 badge, GM does some of the best looking badges. And then here's some of the credentials. So you are gonna get recovery tow hooks. You could pull some of those lesser compact crossover SUVs out of the mud, out of the quicksand. And then underneath, you'll see that you have a nice amount of ground clearance, which is awesome as well. That's gonna help with the usability. And remember, these vehicles are not meant to go rock crawling. These are meant to go off the beaten path. So when the asphalt runs out and it's all dirt, this is where you'll be able to take it. Now, coming around the bend, to give it some more of that cred, what you're gonna find are real deal off-road tires. So you're gonna have this 17-inch wheel. Love the freaking design of it. This flat gray finish, the machined aluminum, very, very sharp looking wheel. And then you'll see that we have these general grabber all-terrain tires. Look at the shielding in the sidewall. Like I said, this is not a pretender. The Terrain AT4 is not an off-road pretender. It actually is a contender because of things like these tires and those recovery tow hooks. But suspension tuning has been redampened for that off-road experience. You got the gloss black around the fender openings. You do have your LED lighting. Of course, AT4 badging on the side. And you'll notice with this particular one, the two-tone again. We have our gloss black painted roof with our raised roof rails, and it's a metallic black, which is really nice. With the white, really pops nicely. Some of that dark aluminum finish along the bottom. And then coming towards the rear of the vehicle, they did a really great job, like I said, balancing the new LED lighting, that dark aluminum style trim, nice long roof spoiler, really, really attractive. And then coming down to ground level, you do have the gloss black. And remember, this is removable, so you could do some light towing with your Terrain AT4. But we gotta wrap it up here from Detroit. We've covered all the different versions. Let's go ahead and kind of go back to where we started, the elevation. So interesting to see the direction that GMC has taken the Terrain, especially with the elevation. I think as great as the AT4 looks and as amazing as the Denali is, the real surprising feature with the Terrain is how many standard things you're getting at the elevation standpoint. But I definitely want to thank the whole GMC team for having us out to cover all this. A lot to cover in a short amount of time, but we will be bringing you that first drive very, very soon. But let me know what you think about the new Terrain. Are you excited about it? Put that in the comment section. I'm very curious to see what you have to say about it. But if you're new to the channel, you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. Come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Raised Rights family. Of course, we need to give it up to Lori Raiti, busting her butt like she always does. Show her some love in the comment section. Thank you, Lori, for all that you do. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.